All right, welcome back, everyone. We're gonna go over today's trade. Today was a bit of a base hit, but it was still green on the day, so I'm not really too down about it. The first trade we took was actually a red trade, so it was IVF. So IVF pops up on the scanner, and on the scanner it's already popping up before 4 a.m. So before I can even take trades, I'm trying to watch for it closely. I was watching it like a couple minutes before the opening, and it squeezes up past 366, which is this previous resistance, and it just kind of goes ahead of me. And then I didn't really take any more. I didn't really pay attention to it afterwards. I thought this from here. I thought I already had missed the initial move, so I was like, you know what, forget it. We're just gonna look at something else. But as I'm looking at something else, I come back to this, I flip, and it's already reversed and made a beautiful pattern here. You can see on the 1 minute chart, and I was like, dang, maybe I should have kept watching it. So sometimes that's gonna happen. You're gonna flip between stuff, and then the one that you missed out on the first time actually ends up reversing, and then what do you know, it squeezes up and breaks this resistance, but not by much. So my first trade was around here in this first minute candle, 710, but I ended up getting flushed out 10 cents. I'm trying to stay close to my rule where I got to get out 10 cents. That's the stop loss, and I felt like that this was appropriate. But as soon as I ended up getting flushed out, it was this right here. This is the candle that kind of messed me up right here. It was like three reds, right? You see on the volume bar, so I'm like, oh man, it's gonna diverge down. Flushes down, I get out for a loss of $11, and what do you know? It immediately reverses back up, and I'm like, wow, like had I held just maybe a second or two later, I had seen that, I'd be up with a little bit of profit. I mean, to be fair, I got in pretty high, 484, 411, so 412. I got in right here. 484 is, yep, I got in the top of this trend right here. I saw these volume bars increasing right here at 711, 1, 2, and then it flushed down. But on the 1 minute chart, things were looking good right here. And I was like, okay, this could be observed as a pullback. And it was, but since I got flushed down, I was like, I don't know about this. I don't want to start my morning on a huge red loss. So I said, might as well just take my loss. So that's what the first trade was. The second trade was DPRO. So I've traded DPRO in the past, and it hasn't been the best to me. But today I think we got a decent move. It was a bit choppy in the beginning, and when news came out, I kind of thought to myself, like, okay, is this good news? I mean, they have securing order on military for their UAV systems, so that should be good, right? That they secured orders, but you have to look into the news, ahead, or at least maybe afterwards to see maybe why. I haven't really checked it out this time, but I've seen where the news headlines sounds good, but then when you actually go and read what the description is about, it's kind of sounds a bit vague. It doesn't sound so trustworthy or so promising compared to the headline. So I took my initial trade, starting position at 644. So around 644 is when it pops up and it immediately goes down, pops up again. So this is really volatile. This is just up, down, and the volume wasn't really there yet. So I was like, maybe this wasn't the right move. There was this initial spike, rejected, went up, went down, and just kept going smaller and smaller. But it was still trending upwards. So I was like, okay, let's we'll see what we can do with this. A little bit of lighter volume, but still increasing on here on the 1 minute chart, and immediately slams up. I get out. I actually enter for another trade for another 100 share position at 660. So a couple minutes afterwards, I took my next trade, and then it I don't know, just didn't feel confident after a while. Yeah, this wasn't going up, but it was just beginning to feel choppy. I mean, I should have held longer, but I got out with some profit from here. Initially, I was trying to get out. I did see I was up 50, 60 at a certain point, but I couldn't get out. I couldn't get out where I wanted to. Like right here, this is where it would kind of top at, and I just wasn't able to get out the profit I wanted. So that can be a bit frustrating sometimes. So as soon as it popped up here, I just sold. I took my money off the table, and it did squeeze up a little bit higher. Yeah, there was a little bit of FOMO, but honestly, I think I played it safe today rather than overstretch myself and give back profits from last week. So made 43 on that, and I lost 11 on that. So I'm down about. Well, I'm up actually about 32 on the day, so that's pretty good. So on the calendar, this is where we stand. We're pretty good. We're 6 day green streak, 7 day green streak. So keeping the green, 287 on the month. And yeah, we're honestly back to square zero from last month. So we're picking up our profits from last month. We're already at our all-time high, and we're just going to keep on adding from there. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little breakdown. This was really quick, pretty brief. I didn't really stay too long. There was HTOO. I saw this later in the morning, like way later, like maybe an hour or two, and this is right after Take the Move. But these are my favorite types of moves right here. When it's like this low, will float and immediately just it jumps up. I mean, it's probably better on a 1 minute candle or a 10-second chart. Right here. And then boom, it starts slamming up, and you just take your entry. I don't know where I would have taken my entry here. As soon as I likely would have been a bit high, maybe around 9 or 10. But hey, it went up to $12, $13. I think that would have been a solid day. So I like these types of stocks. And then what was the news on this? Well, let's see. We're gonna go to our newsroom, our stock quote. We're gonna hit this. Oh, more. So they had a partnership with an European company. So we'll open this. And this is something you wouldn't read all in 10 seconds. You just have to look at the headline, see what the volume is looking like. If it's picking up and there's momentum, you have to jump in, and you execute, and then you ask questions later, like, hey, why did it go up? So they're going to get about 30 million euros in capital over the next 4 years to be invested into these projects. So that's good. They're going to get money, and that's really bullish. So 30 million euro, that's, I'm not sure how much that is in USD, but it's a lot still. Okay, not too bad. Yeah, so remember, just take your base hits. Small days that accumulate over time will end up becoming your bread and butter. And over time, I will feel confident that this $31 will end up becoming $310 as a base hit, and then maybe $3,000 one day. Ross's base hit for the day is like 5,000, 10,000. That's really great, So just slowly but surely, we're gonna get there. And before I know it, I'm gonna look back and just be super grateful I took these types of base hits. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode, and you guys take care. Peace. Get some sleep.